Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and no, this is not a mistake. You can't see my face on purpose because today's video is about sitting and how terrible it is for your health. In fact, you might have been seeing some buzz around the internet. You might have been watching some things on YouTube, something in the paper. This is kind of a new thing that is being discovered, which is kind of silly because we're designed to stand up and walk and run and move. But we now in our modern world spend a ton of time sitting. And there are new studies that are showing just how terrible this is for our health to spend hour upon hour upon hour sitting. In fact, if you are an exerciser and you spend an hour every day exercising, the moment you go home, you sit at your computer, you sit on the couch and watch TV, and you spend any length of time there, you start to do some damage to your body and all the health that you even created with that physical activity. So there's a few things that start to happen the moment you sit down. The number one thing is the electrical activity in your muscles drops and then it shuts off, which is crazy, right? I mean, that, who knew? You think, okay, I'm relaxing, I'm resting, and that electrical activity that your muscles need, it stops, it turns off. So that is kind of an interesting thing to know. In fact, they're actually comparing long periods of time to cigarette smoking and how damaging it is for your health. So what I did is I wrote down a few things that I wanted to remember to tell you on this because it's actually really, really good information for you to know. So what happens is your calories per minute that you burn drops down to about 1 calorie per minute, which is not very much. Usually that's just breathing. That's just breathing calorie burn, which is not very much. After 3 hours of sitting, there's a 50% drop in artery dilation, which results in a decrease in blood flow. And when you sit for 24 hours straight, then the insulin in your body loses up to 40% of its ability to uptake glucose, which increases your risk of type 2 diabetes. Not cool, right? That's the 24 hours. And we are talking about if you're sitting for a straight 24 hours. And I know sometimes we get caught in watching a whole series on Netflix where we watch one, and because now they release them all at once, or we're able to watch them all at once, we sit for hours and hours and hours, and that's just not good. The crazy thing is it gets worse from there. After only 2 weeks of sitting for about 6 hours a day, the LDL cholesterol, which is also known as your bad cholesterol, increases along with other fatty molecules that can lead to weight gain. Now, there's an enzyme in your blood called lipase, which actually breaks down fats. What happens when you start to sit or when you sit down for long periods of time, that plunges. That enzyme that you need is like a fat burning enzyme. It's in your blood, and it actually stays active when you're even just standing. So when you start sitting down or you sit down, that starts to plunge and slow down, which is so not cool. Now, because of the prolonged activity in your muscles, what begins to happen is the contractions slow down and become weaker, and it decreases blood flow to your heart because your muscles are not pumping blood as strong as they can because electrical activity has shut off. Even if you work out regularly, like I said before, the deterioration starts and begins in proportion of the time that you sit down. So what I would like to do is challenge you to stand up at least once during an hour. So if you have a sedentary job, try to get a desk that actually raises and lowers so that you can actually stand up for half the time or 50 minutes of the time or most of the time. Maybe you only need to sit down for 2 or 3 minutes during an hour. There are desks now that can raise and lower, and you can be standing up, spending your time at your computer doing that. If you don't have access to a desk like that, make a habit, put a little alarm off that will set off a bell or a little alarm that will remind you to simply stand up. And if you're super crazy, go up and down some stairs. That sounds pretty crazy, right? So that's my challenge to you. Really think about what happens to you when you sit. Stay active, stay healthy, and don't sit for long periods of time. Now, one other quick thing that's a little bit off topic that I really wanted to share with you. I had a really great conversation with one of my customers today, and we were talking about my favorite thing to talk about, which is sugar and how sugar is just so not good for you, and we eat it everywhere. People love to give it to us. It tastes good. All the things that we know about sugar. And sugar to me is enemy number one and what it does to your health. So here's a tip that's going to help you with sugar. Essential oil of peppermint. So what I do is I take essential oil of peppermint and I put a tiny little bit on my upper lip where you can actually smell it and you can feel it kind of fills up your whole senses. And what the essential oil of peppermint does is it actually turns on the same pleasure sensors in your brain that sugar does. Now, sugar definitely does that temporarily, and it might taste good, makes you feel good. It's just, there's so much pleasure in your mouth, especially when you're completely addicted to sugar. I find that that's not true anymore for me. I know that because I'm not addicted to sugar like I was, that sugar, only tiny amounts do the same exact thing that big amounts used to do for me before. So the essential oil of peppermint will actually stop a craving for sugar completely in its tracks. So I would suggest that you get a little 1 ounce or 2 ounce bottle that you can keep at your desk, keep in your house in the kitchen, keep in your purse, or in a place where they actually make the essential oils in little tiny like 1/4 ounce vials. So it's actually really easy to keep in your pocket too if you're a guy and you don't have a purse. So there, a couple of my favorite places to get my essential oils are Mountain Rose Herbs, Star West Botanicals, and I do not have an affiliate with either one of those. Or you could do something, some of you, there's probably many of you out there who do Young Living Oils, doTERRA essential oils, and those are all really amazing essential oils. And I know that they all do the essential oil of peppermint. So try that. It's an amazing tip to help curb your appetite, get rid of your appetite, and completely stop those cravings for sugar. And stand up and use peppermint oil. Stand up, use peppermint oil. Let me know how you do. I always love, love, love to get your feedback. And have an amazing day, an amazing week, and we will talk to you guys soon.